sharing it for.
Hey YouTube, Zeus here, and we're gonna be watching another scary video. I got my bag of Doritos, animal crackers. They're in the bag. Got the water set, I guess. Yeah. Probably gonna make it through half a story. Who knows?
So long because I didn't want to be judged for my actions. I joined a stupid online dating app. I was divorced last winter. Just kind of living it up, you know. I somehow matched with this man who lived in New York, an 8-hour drive from me. After texting for a few weeks, he sprung it on me that he was going to drive to see me. Since I'm staying with family since my divorce, I decided we'd get a hotel.
Are you drawing?
He told me to find one.
Why is he drawing? It's gonna take a
I
while.
already felt super bad he was driving so far, so I was trying to find deals in the cheapest place that wasn't incredibly sketchy. I live about 45 minutes outside of the city in the state that I live in, and I'm not super familiar with some areas, so the hotel I booked ended up being no bueno. But I didn't know this until I got there. It was dark by the time I arrived after getting lost 4 times. There was a very shady motel across the street with 2 men smoking on the porch. Lots of trucks and truckers traveling through. I was just walking into the hotel like, oh, I messed up. But I just went with it anyways because I didn't really have a choice, and New York, what we'll refer to him as, was about an hour away, so he'd be there soon. The hotel was run by Jamaican people. I think a family, but this comes into play later, which is why I mentioned it. The woman who checked me in was nice, but the place threw off weird vibes.
You know why our hotel's so big? Because it has too many stories.
Lighting, the smell of bleach, the carpet, I don't know. It was really bright, but also really dark, if that makes sense. I started shaking as I was trying to check in. The reservation was under New York's name, and at first, she told me she couldn't find the reservation. His last name was Spanish, so I thought maybe I was pronouncing it wrong, even though I'm pretty good with Spanish. This made it awkward because now she knew I was meeting a stranger. I thought maybe he gave you the wrong name, she said. I nervously chuckled. She put me on the 2nd floor, and I was expecting an elevator, but as I turned, I saw that behind me was a huge carpeted staircase. This threw me off too, I don't know why. I get to my room and just pace around waiting for this stranger from the internet to show up. It starts raining. I'm sitting by the window, sipping a glass of wine, and see a pickup truck pull in. I think maybe it's him. A man in a black hoodie gets out and locks his truck about 50 times, hearing the beep beep go, and runs inside. I start panicking, thinking it's him, and he has no bags or luggage because he's just going to come kidnap me or something. Then there's a loud knock at my door, and I jump so hard and immediately stand up. I make my way over to the door and look through the peephole. It's New York. No black hoodie, carrying bags.
Also, can you guys show me if you can hear me? Well, I'm playing the video. Truly mean a lot to me.
So I crack the door and smile, and he comes in, and I share my terrifying thoughts with him, and we chuckle. Then we get to business. Later that night, we fall asleep, and he's spooning me, but also has his arms all the way around me with his head on top of my head. Super weird, I don't know. I was woken up from a dead sleep, just so sweaty because he was holding me so tightly, and I thought that's what had woken me, but then I heard it. Someone was messing with our door. Then I heard the handle start moving as whoever it was tried to open it, but it wouldn't open. Suddenly, New York jumps out of bed so fast I wondered how long he had been awake listening to this to react so quickly. I pull the covers up to my chin as he's just standing in the dark in his undies looking at the door. He looks to the people and says he thinks it's one of the Jamaican men who work here. We had a chain on the door as well as all the locks, so he kept the chain on as he opened it a few inches. Before we can even ask what the dude wanted, this man just says, "Is the white girl here?" I remember getting chills all over my body. New York says no and slams the door, almost completely unbothered by this. The man says something about needing a credit card from me. New York yells back that the room is on his card. under his name, and he'll take care of it in the morning. I looked at the clock, and it was like 2 a.m. I turn over and just stare at the wall, hoping to fall back asleep. New York wraps his arms around me again and is immediately snoring in my ear. Good thing he was hot. The next morning, we decided to go get breakfast. It's super early and we're both feeling groggy. I'm hoping as we round the corner to the stairs that no one is at the front desk because they definitely heard the noises from our room this morning, and I was feeling really embarrassed. Thankfully, the front desk was empty. Then I saw him. An older black male, standing a few feet from the exit. I honestly don't know if he was Jamaican. I don't know if he was part of the family who owned this place, or a guest, or just someone else. I don't know. But his face was almost sunken in, and he had this weird, chilling look in his eyes. He was staring right at me. I knew without seeing him this was the guy from last night. New York whispers for me to just keep walking, so I break eye contact with this guy and lean into New York as we make our way to the exit. As we pass, the male is silent. Then, as I'm pushing open the door to exit the building, he starts saying, "There's the white girl. I found the white girl. She makes a lot of noise." And New York snorted. I was terrified. I left for work after breakfast. I was gone a few hours and returned to the hotel to find the room empty. I texted New York and asked where he was, and he texted back saying he was in the laundry room and that he'd be right back up. I sat down on the bed waiting for him. I heard some footsteps outside the door, the floor creaking, like someone was standing at the door, shifting their weight or something. I figured maybe New York forgot his room keys, so I got up.
You know, if you hear a floor creak, it's not people doing it, it's an earthquake. Some people cause earthquakes, and speaking of that, here comes one now, right on schedule. Oh my gosh, I just called that. Oh! But I could check the footage, see if that picked up. Dude, I'm telling you, the stopping at it's enough to cause enough wind to come down into the basement, and I'm freezing and itching. I don't know why the itching part, but oh my gosh, dude, it's horrible. Well, kitchens are meant for the wrong people, I tell you.
Looked through the peephole, but it was not him. The creepy man was standing outside the door, just staring into the peephole. I jumped back and started crying and called New York and yelled for him to come to the room quickly because the man was outside the door. He was gone by the time New York ran up. He went down to the front desk and spoke to the woman about this man, but she just kept saying she had no idea who he was talking about and that she will keep an eye out for him. That night, I couldn't sleep. I just felt like I could feel him lingering around outside the door, but I was too scared to go look. New York was sleeping. I rolled over and decided to be the big spoon and wrap my arms around him. He was still basically a stranger, but was the most comforting thing I had. We checked out the next morning. I grabbed his hand as we made our way down the stairs because guess who was standing there? Yep. The woman from the front desk was gone, though, replaced by a younger male. The creepy man was smiling as we neared the bottom of the stairs, just this awful, bone-chilling grin. "Lucky man with the white girl," was the last comment we heard from this creep. New York spun around and gave him a few choice words and then walked me to my car. He waited while I drove off to make sure no one followed me. I don't know, maybe there's more we could have done, but again, he never did anything. It was just a very unnerving experience. About a month later, I was telling my dad about it, and he laughed and told me I had picked the worst part of the city, and that he thought that he had heard about this place being shut down multiple times for selling or trafficking. He couldn't remember, and then apparently it would just go under new ownership. This is a story from my childhood.
Alright, well.
One of the ones that haunt me to this day.
Oh,
Have you ever
that
seen those
ended
memes
right
where
on
it says people react like a criminal when an
the
unexpected
10-minute
visitor walks
mark.
on their
Alright, well.
doorstep?
Just the rest of
They
this,
freeze
if
and
you
drop
wanna.
everything they're doing and throw themselves to the
If you
floor
wanna
to
watch all
avoid it.
that. Hey, look. You guys get to hear an earthquake as my outro goes. Halloween stories, let's do that actually.
Number 1.
Oh boy.
This happened.
Really? This is how this is my life. Each time I can't even make a video without someone coming downstairs, and of course it's the earthquake too. That's why I had to pause the video. It was the scary voice from that pumpkin scared me enough, and then it was a double jump scare from the stairs crashing. Alright, let's do this.
Happened on Halloween 4 years ago. I was sitting on the sofa in my apartment relaxing with my laptop, waiting for kids to come knock on my door as I usually did. Being too old to trick or treat, but not a fan of parties. However, this year, I had just moved to a new apartment, which was farther away from the larger homes I lived near before, and fewer kids seemed to be in the area. One of the reasons was that it was an apartment complex for single guys, and was far enough from my college that people who lived here had to drive to school. Still, I had a small bucket of candy prepared, as usual, which I had been snacking from. The apartments on both sides of me are usually quiet. Nobody lives in the apartment above mine. So far, the evening was just hours of silence and occasional music from my laptop. It was 7 o'clock and still not a single person had stopped by for candy. I suddenly realized that I might have left my outside light off. I wasn't used to my apartment yet, so I opened the door and looked outside to check. It was off. No wonder nobody had stopped by.
Alright.
I flipped the switch on and looked back outside to see if people were there. I couldn't see anyone walking around, but it was dark and the complex was large, so I didn't think much of it. I closed the door and started walking back towards the sofa. That was fast, I thought. I walked back to my sofa, stopped the music on my laptop, and picked up the bowl of candy. When I walked back to the open door, a young dark-skinned boy, probably about 10 years old at most, stood there by himself, with what looked like white flowers sprinkled all over the top of his head. He was wearing a SpongeBob shirt, and it didn't seem to be a costume, nor dressed unusually, except for the white flower that was on his short hair and forehead. He didn't say trick or treat, but he looked up at me and seemed irritated for some reason. "Can I use your bathroom?" His voice was monotone, almost like he was trying to fake a robot voice. I smiled, a bit shocked that my first visitor was this kid, and he didn't even want any candy. "Sure, but be quick." He ran inside past me and closed the bathroom door, locking it behind him. I decided to keep the front door open and stand next to it while I waited for him to finish, holding the bowl of candy while looking to see if anyone else was coming toward my apartment. 10 minutes later, and nobody came by, and the boy was still in my bathroom. "Are you okay?" There wasn't an answer, but I could hear him walking around behind the door. The water faucet turned on a tiny bit. It was just streaming softly. I waited by the door. 2 minutes
Just like
later,
that guy from
the
Alien.
water was still running. My front door was open, and it was dark outside, except for the glow from my porch light. Can you come out for a second?" I started to worry if the boy was alright, or if he was playing some kind of prank. After all, it was Halloween. "I'm opening the door." I knew it was locked, but I tried wiggling the handle to see if it would budge. The water was running, but I couldn't hear anything else from behind the door. "Can you open the door? I need to use the bathroom." I said, using that as an excuse. I was starting to panic a little inside. Maybe he was hurt. There was still no answer. Now I was really starting to get worried. I ran my shoulder into the door once, wondering if what I see people do in crime dramas really works or not. It really hurt. I tried it again and again. Then I tried kicking the door. At this point, I'm starting to freak out. The bathroom doesn't have a key, so there was no way to open it. I'm calling the police. Actually, I was worried if the police would even show up in a reasonable amount of time on Halloween. I called them anyway, and they said they were in the neighborhood and could be right over. While they drove over, I explained on the phone what was going on. When they arrived, I ran outside and unlocked the complex gate, then followed them back to my apartment. The two officers arrived. They heard the water running and then started kicking at the door. One of them had a crowbar but didn't need to use it. My cheap wooden bathroom door was open in a few solid kicks. It shot open, spraying paint dust and wood chips everywhere. Then I saw both of the officers pull out their radios at the same time and enter the bathroom. I ran up behind them to see what happened, but the officers' figures were blocking the view. "Oh boy," I heard one of them say. Now I was freaking out, and I couldn't talk. I was already uncomfortable in my new apartment. I didn't want to have a memory of finding a dead boy in my bathroom. Both officers were shuffling around in the bathroom. Then they stepped out and put their radios away. They looked at me sternly, and then one of them sighed.
Please don't say anything I think is what's gonna happen.
I'm not sure what to say. I'm gonna let you off with a warning because it's Halloween. My mind was filled with nothing but confusion and fear. I couldn't even look back at the officers after seeing their expressions. I'll have one of our guys give you a call tomorrow to discuss this. For now, don't call us up anymore tonight. And then they walked out of the front door. One of them turned back to look at me, and then left the door open. In my panic, I ran into the bathroom. The floor was covered with tiny white wood chips from the door. The faucet was off. I didn't even realize the officers had turned it off. Nothing was there. Nothing else was touched. The next morning, I got a call from a woman. I was certain when I answered the phone that I was going to be in trouble, but what followed shocked me. "I was going to call you in regards to a prank phone call this morning, but after reading the report the police gave me, I'm not too surprised this happened in the first place," was what I heard. "This is the apartment manager, by the way. We had the same call from someone in that apartment 5 years ago for a similar thing. Maybe you can ask the police for more details, but simply put, when we used to be family housing, a boy died in that bathroom 7 years ago. They say he drowned in a bathtub." I couldn't say anything. "Happened 7 years."
Okay, I'm done. I ain't doing this no more. Peace out, Girl Scout.